Hey guys, Addicted Ace here, and welcome back to the channel and episode 1 of our Titanic Adventure Out of Time playthrough. Without further ado, let's get after it.
Once again, today's top stories. London has endured another night of German bombing. Most damage was concentrated in the East End. The RAF has struck enemy aerodromes in Le Havre and the Low Countries. In Russia, further German losses are reported around Leningrad. In Asia, the American fortress at Corregidor is still defiant, but Japanese forces are reported nearing the Burmese oil fields. And that concludes the news summary. We now return you to our music program.
About time you're awake. You're 2 weeks late with the rent. War or no war, a tenant in arrears is not a tenant I'll put up with. You don't pay by today, it's the street, I promise. Sneaking out, are you? I want me money. They said you was important once. Not now, you're just old and broke. When do I get me money? When?
So the game drops us into 1942 London in our dilapidated flat. You just heard the voice of our cranky old bat of a landlady who world wars don't really seem to impress. She still wants her rent money, which we are evidently behind on. If you notice under the bed, you can see a bottle of booze stashed away, indicating that our lead protagonist and former Secret Serviceman, Frank Carlson, has given this landlady the old one bourbon, one scotch, one beer treatment. And up on the mantle, we have here a model of the R.M.S. Titanic. And we have a book of memories, a book of the past as it stands now, 30 years after our failed mission on board Titanic. A Daily Standard. Titanic sinks 1,250 perish, which is 246 less than what actually perished. R.M.S. Titanic sinks 4 hours after striking iceberg. I saw it go down, the story of one man's survival. No word yet on the Astors, a first-hand account. On the wall here, we have a war poster. London, he's watching you. The artwork for this poster was done by Glenn Grow. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. I could have just butchered it, I don't know. And it was created by the American propaganda machine using a play on intimidation to point out the threat of enemy spies. The U.S. Office of War Information actually conducted a public survey to see what people thought about the poster, and the outcome of that survey was the poster didn't really give a clear message. Many people actually mistook the German Nazi helmet as the Liberty Bell. Above this armchair here, we have a photograph of Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of Great Britain during World War II. And on the arm of the chair, we have a book, The Wreck of the Titan, or Futility, by Morgan Robertson. And here I would like to read the preface from the 1955 book, A Night to Remember, by Walter Lord. In 1898, a struggling author named Morgan Robertson concocted a novel about a fabulous Atlantic liner far larger than any that had ever been built. Robertson loaded his ship with rich and complacent people and then wrecked it one cold April night on an iceberg. This somehow showed the futility of everything, and in fact the book was called Futility when it appeared that year, published by the firm of M.F. Mansfield. 14 years later, a British shipping company named the White Star Line built a steamer remarkably like the one in Robertson's novel. The new liner was 66,000 tons displacement. Robertson's was 70,000 tons. The real ship was 882.5 feet long. The fictional one was 800 feet. Both vessels were triple screw and could make 24 to 25 knots. Both could carry about 3,000 people, and both had enough lifeboats for only a fraction of this number. But then, this didn't seem to matter because both were labeled unsinkable. On April 10, 1912, the real ship left Southampton on her maiden voyage to New York. Her cargo included a priceless copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, and a list of passengers collectively worth $250 million. On her way over, she too struck an iceberg and went down on a cold April night. Robertson called his ship the Titan. The White Star Line called its ship the Titanic. This is the story of her last night. So it's kind of crazy to think that this is an actual book that was written 14 years before the Titanic sank. There's so many similarities here. If you didn't know that this book was actually written, you would think that it was made up. The Times, April 19th, 1912. Lord Lady Lambeth, obituary. Lord and Lady Lambeth have died in the Titanic disaster. The couple has been missing since the sinking and were not among the survivors rescued by the Carpathia last Monday. Many of the rescued attest to seeing the couple together before the ship sank. The White Star Line will confirm only that the Lambeths were passengers on the ocean liner. There were no children. See what we got in the cupboard. We got some war rations here. Got a very reliable cockroach. We'll name him Ricky the Rad Roach. Mama's enriched spaghetti, household milk, pure dried eggs. Definitely war rations. On the bed here, got a newspaper. Nazi bombers hit city, heavy damage in Docklands. Japs near Burma oil fields. On the desk, we've got a number of items. We've got some magazines, Brave New World and Peak. Got some photographs here and some drawings. All research that I've done into this photo of these hogs hanging has just turned up a 1916 pig inspection. I'm not really sure of the significance of that. Again, this photo, not really sure what this is supposed to be. We've got a drawing of the Taj Mahal. We've got a postcard from 14 September 1928. Dearest, having a great time. Ran into Jack in Bombay. He's worried about you. Says he hasn't heard from you since you left the clinic. I told him you're repairing clocks. Are you sick? Such an odd choice for someone with your skills. Talk to Daddy. I'm sure there's a position with his firm. Can't really make out the last bit there. Love, Deanna. Another postcard from May of 1939. Looks like war in Europe, doesn't it? Situation here, nervous. French are still wine, women, and singing, as usual. What will you do if there's fighting? Keep fixing watches? Seriously, I know whatever happened on the Titanic was bad, but it's 25 plus years. You can't change the past. Look ahead. We'll talk when I return. Cheers, Jack. Another postcard from November 29th, 1914 from New York. Heard you're back from France. Hope you'll even the score yet with the bastards who fired you. Sorry to bring it up, but I think you were treated horribly. No references, no pension. What will you do next? Keep me posted. Jack. Here we've got a poster of a pleasant young woman. We've got a ticket for the Hindenburg from Frankfurt to Lakehurst, May 3rd, 1937. This is the voyage that went down. This is why everyone knows of the Hindenburg. $400 plus $3 in taxes. The German Zeppelin Company. 10 August 1914. His Majesty's government regrets to inform you that your services in the office of the Secret Service are no longer needed. Termination to be effective immediately. With regrets, Commander T.S.D. Hipple. Got a card here. La Mort, death. I'm pretty sure in just about every language that means death. Some form of that spelling. And we've got a pocket watch here. Now, when we pick this up, notice that the hand is stuck at 2:20, which is the exact time Titanic slipped beneath the waves. And it's still stuck at that time, so he's either very sentimental about this watch and didn't want to fix it, or there's something very unique about this watch and he can't fix it, because obviously our guy repairs clocks now.
See here, this isn't about your dedication. Pringle certainly attests to your loyalty. No, your dismissal stems from the Titanic mission. That failure can no longer be ignored, especially now. I am sorry, but someone must shoulder the blame. The service, you understand. We can't be held responsible.
Here it is, the German Blitz. I don't care where you're from, those sirens produce the creepiest sound in existence. They can signal a great many things, but no matter what they're signaling, it always means doom.
The past, forever locked in regret. But what if the past could be changed? "30 years have come and gone since the night that saw the end of the world, my world. The service needed someone on the Titanic. They chose me. I was to wait for a signal from my contact, so I remained in my cabin. I left only once. Georgia was on board. And that's when it came. There'd be no second chance. It was Sunday, April 14th. Too late, you see, for the Titanic, for me. What if I'd met with my contact, prevented disaster? What if the past could be changed? What then?
April 14th, 1912. What was that noise?
Good evening. I am Smethels, your steward, and if I may say so, it is good to see you up and about. You've been in your cabin the whole voyage. A touch of the mal de mer, was it?
Colonel Smethels, the Rock Johnson. I've infiltrated the R.M.S. Titanic, and yes, just a touch.
Seasickness can be quite unpleasant, especially if it's one's first crossing. Since you haven't been out of your cabin, may I instruct you on how to get assistance while on board the Titanic?
Yes, I could use some help breaking the fourth wall.
Very good. We of the White Star Line hope that your stay on board Titanic is as relaxing as possible. As you explore the ship, please bear in mind the following advice. The mouse is your hands, the keys your feet. If you find the screen too dark or too bright, follow the directions on the control screen help panel or consult your manual on adjusting your monitor. To find the control panel help and other features, click on the life preserver at the bottom of the screen. The control panel has a help button, as well as a quit and save game feature. You may also adjust the volume. Test the settings by clicking on the black knob. You may also switch the theme music on or off. After making any adjustments, click OK to return to your current game. Wandering the ship, if you notice a hand, it indicates something to click on. May I suggest you do so? Several personal items in your room, a brown satchel, and a pocket watch are quite useful to you during your voyage. Take them with you. You shall want to converse with other passengers. If you fail to understand them, click on their face. They will repeat their last sentence. The purser. His office is on C deck, just off the forward grand stairs. The elevator, or lift as we call it, has an attendant who can direct you to various sections of the lifts are located behind the forward grand staircase. Lastly, you may always find me by returning to your cabin, C-73, and ringing the bell to the right of the door. Your correspondence. 2,200 on board, and they all want messages delivered promptly. Even if it is 1912, and the Titanic, the most advanced means of sea conveyance ever devised, I still have only 2 hands. Here, a map of the ship for you. Compliments of the White Star Line. I have taken the liberty of indicating your cabin, C-73. Of course, on a Sunday evening at this hour, there won't be many people out. Will there be anything else?
Who is PP?
A young lady. A most insistent young lady.
What is the electric camel? Some kind of Metal Gear? Or some sort of early 20th century Sibian?
The electric camel? An exercise device. They say it is good for the liver. I wouldn't know. It's located in the gymnasium, on the boat deck, on the starboard side. That's the right side, in case you had not been informed. Port. If you're facing towards the front of the ship, the left side is the port side. Have you unpacked? You'll find your trunk key in your bag on the bed. And remember your personal effects, your watch, and if you require additional assistance, please ring the bell by the door. Good night.
So, if we're in C-73, why did we enter our cabin through an E-deck window? No matter. Go ahead and grab our bag. It's got stuff in it we're gonna need, and we're gonna need to put stuff in it. Let's see what's on the menu. Got some hors d'oeuvres, berries, oysters, consomme, olga, cream of barley, salmon, mousseline sauce, cucumber, filet mignon, lily, sauté of chicken lyonnaise, vegetable marrow farcis, lamb, meat sauce, roast duckling, applesauce, sirloin of beef, chateau potatoes, green peas, creamed carrots. What the hell are creamed carrots? Boiled rice, parmentier and boiled new potatoes, punch romaine, roast squab, cold asparagus, vinaigrette, pâté de foie gras, I know I butchered that, celery, Waldorf pudding, peaches and chartreuse jelly, chocolate and vanilla eclairs, French ice cream. Fancy. We'll wash up. We'll grab our pocket watch. Same pocket watch that is on our desk 30 years in the future, although it is not stuck at 220. Meet me tonight on deck. Tell no one. Georgia. So if I've been in my cabin the whole voyage, how the hell did she get this in here? Alright. Let's check out our trunk. There's no physical way they could have gotten that in here. I'm assuming they put the trunk on the floor and then they built the cabin around it. See what we got here. Take a look at the gramophone. Some assembly required.
His Majesty's government has assigned an agent of the Crown to rendezvous with you on board the Titanic. Remain in your cabin until your contact gives you further instructions. After completion of all your assignments on board, book passage to remain on the ship and return to Southampton for your next assignment. For a more in-depth report of the international situation in the spring of 1912, please review the white paper included as part of this briefing. That is all.
This message will self-destruct. Can't access those. Looks like we've got a German Enigma-type cipher machine. I need to open that again. Confidential. Got a map of Europe showing the current state of affairs. Top secret report. The Central Powers, the German Empire, and Austro-Hungarian Empire. Neutral is the United States. Britain's allies are France and Russia. Prepared March 3rd, 1912 in Whitehall, London. This spring of 1912, Europe is the dominant center of the civilized world, bursting with energy and power. It is also a house of cards, cobbled together by diplomats and old dynasties at the Congress of Vienna in 1815 to restore order after the devastating Napoleonic Wars. This structure of nation-states has endured for nearly a century, but rumbling subterranean faults threaten to plunge all we have built into the abyss of mechanized global war. Despite such dangers, English liberals, intellectuals, and progressive businessmen choose to believe the sanguine writer Norman Angell. His book, The Great Illusion, has become a publishing phenomenon, electrifying the Oxbridge campuses with his postulate, war is unthinkable. A modern war would be terrible and so disruptive of the global economic system, he says, that both victor and vanquished would be devastated. Global finance and economic interdependence is so great, he argues, that no nation will risk war. Nothing is further from the truth, as you shall read. In fact, peace totters on the brink, pushed near the edge by Europe's economic and colonial rivalries and a system of competing alliances. The Central Powers of Germany and Austria-Hungary stand toe-to-toe with a looser, more ambiguous association, the allies of the Triple Entente, comprising Great Britain, France, and Russia. Meanwhile, in the Balkans, the contending forces of Slav nationalism and great power expansion may well provide the fuel for a terrible inferno. There is hope, however. London politicians may be pessimists, but Britannia still rules the waves, and trade, and banking, and the realm of ordained self-confidence. Our vast overseas empire stretches from Suez to Cape Town, from Persia to Burma, to treaty ports in China. We are linked by language, culture, and commerce with the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Our chief rival is Germany. Her leader, the Kaiser, has doubled her army since 1892 and races to build a navy to rival the British fleet. Germany's trade policies, tariffs, enlightened social welfare services, and large, dynamic, well-educated labor force now boast an efficient, modern industrial system that outbids and undersells Britain around the world. To secure her position, Germany forged military alliances with Austria-Hungary in 1879. The result? These Central Powers now dominate continental Europe. Desperate for allies, Republican France has swallowed her principles, clasped the hand of the weak, but autocratic Tsar loaned Russia millions of francs to keep the inept, corrupt government afloat and invested heavily in Russian industry, railroads, and expansion across Siberia to Asia. Every European power wants Asian markets, and Russia especially covets warm water ports on the Pacific. Generally, Britain has stood apart, but we have repeatedly foiled Russia's efforts to get access to the Mediterranean Sea, and we will continue to do so. This Franco-Russian alliance has increased German paranoia and insecurity. The Kaiser shouts foul, feeling isolated and encircled, but in fact Russia is a lumbering behemoth. Our intelligence reports it is shackled by corruption, inefficiency, and an inept autocrat. Escalating scandals swirl around the German-born Serena Alexandria and the mystic monk Rasputin, who seems to ease her son's hemophilia with his psychic powers. Impotent Bolsheviks dream of revolution but achieve little. Many have taken refuge in Austria and Germany. Always eager to create mischief for the Tsar, the Central Power state security both welcomes and encourages the Bolsheviks in the hopes they will overthrow the Tsar. Germany is spoiling for conquest. Some insignificant African territories fly the German Kaiser's flag, as do a few ports in China and some Pacific islands. But the American open-door policy to China and its Pacific Fleet limits further German aspirations. Thus foiled in Asia, the Kaiser has paraded his gunboats in Morocco, but we and the French were there first and faced him down with a combination of guns and diplomacy. He has retreated in a fury, but now makes plans for a Berlin to Baghdad railway to open the Middle East to German trade and influence. In the face of German provocation, we have taken pains to cement our relationship to the French. 8 years ago, in 1904, they signed the Entente Cordiale, a friendly agreement. France acknowledges Britain's prevailing influence in Egypt, Britain gives her blessings to French control of Morocco, and our navies now share military maneuvers. France has also nudged us into a similarly loose accord with Russia. In 1907, we signed an Anglo-Russian convention that formalizes our separate spheres of influence in Persia and eases our historic conflict over the Crimea. We still refuse to make military commitments, but the European House of Cards is now divided between the Allies and the Central Powers. In Austria-Hungary, the doddering old Emperor Franz Joseph has sat on the throne since 1850. His is an empire of heterogeneous people ruled by an incompetent bureaucracy and gross inequality. Intelligence reports that he is a dull fellow, old-fashioned and conservative. He tends to the elaborate rituals of the Habsburg court, works long days like an assiduous clerk, and rules over an explosive mix of Germans, Hungarians, Czechs, Poles, Italians, Slovenes, Romanians, Serbs, Croatians, Bosnians, and Jews. Conflicts rage over language restrictions and economic discriminations based on nationality and the competing religious loyalties of Roman Catholics, Orthodox Christians, and Muslim Slavs. 400 years of Ottoman rule has left its mark on the region. Many wish it back. As Emperor Franz Joseph dithers and society waltzes to Strauss and amuses itself with the novel theories of the mind doctor Sigmund Freud, the Balkans threaten to explode with Serbia as the flashpoint. In 1908, young Turk military officers rose in revolt against the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. In the breach, Austria annexed the old Turkish provinces of Bosnia-Herzegovina. The annexation infuriates Serbia, which wants Bosnia as part of a greater Serbia, and the Russians, who see themselves as mentors for their Slav brothers, the Serbs. It has also spurred Bulgaria to declare independence. These actions have inflamed further nationalist aspirations, which led to last year's Balkan War, when Bulgaria, Serbia, and Greece joined forces against Turkey. Today, terrorism flourishes. Just this year, a Bosnian student, a member of a Greater Serbia secret society, tried to assassinate the Hungarian governor of Croatia. Properly financed and directed Serbian nationalist movements could create a serious international crisis. Lastly, though it still adheres to neutrality, the United States is a major force in the Pacific, seeing herself as China's protector. Washington does face a potential problem with Mexico. The revolution there has unleashed a tiger. The new Maduro government has failed to halt corruption and spur reform, and rebel leaders are staging armed raids against it. There is fear in Washington that such unrest may spill over onto American soil. Events, if manipulated, could easily direct the anger of the Mexican masses towards the U.S. Such an event would delight the Central Powers, which prefer the U.S. stay out of Europe's affairs, especially as tensions escalate here. A United States preoccupied with Mexico would offer no help to Britain and France if we went to war with the German and Austro-Hungarian empires. As the players line up toe-to-toe, their armies are poised to defend both national honor and questionable allies, while their presses rave at a fever pitch. All that is needed is one key event to plunge Europe into a war. The world watches to see which side will blink first. For nearly a century, someone always has. Alright guys, we're going to call it here. This episode was a little slow, but I wanted to make sure we got a good foundation for what is going on here in 1912, which is why I made sure to read all of the good bits of info pertaining to our protagonist and world events. The world is indeed headed for war, and unless we can stop it, the future is going to turn out just like it did 30 years from now, with us being bombed in a crappy London flat during a German blitz. In the next episode, we're going to be deep diving into our Secret Service mission on board MGY. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video. Comment your thoughts on the game. Have you ever played it? Have you ever even heard of it? Especially comment if you have any more information pertaining to those postcards and pictures that were on our desk in London. And subscribe if you are interested in seeing this playthrough to completion. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.